This is quite crazy. America will block Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, from traveling to New York next month for a United Nations gathering of world leaders. So, if you don't know, Mahmoud Abbas is the official president of Palestine. He's the leader of Fatah and of the PLO and of the Palestinian Authority. So, Fatah is a moderate Palestinian political party which is enemies with Hamas. It was historically the leader of the Palestinian resistance movement for many decades, and it used to be the most popular party in Palestine, but now Hamas has become more popular. And Fatah is part of a coalition of Palestinian political parties that doesn't include Hamas. And this coalition of Palestinian parties is called the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization. And the Palestinian Authority is the official government of Palestine, which is controlled by Fatah and which governs the West Bank. So Mahmoud Abbas, he is the leader of all three groups. He's been the leader since 2005, I believe, since Arafat died. And he's been banned from attending the United Nations General Assembly session, which is in New York next month, because his visa to America has been revoked. Now, the United Nations General Assembly is basically like the parliament or the Congress of the United Nations. Every country that's part of the UN has a seat and they get to vote on various issues at the UN. Now, there's 193 countries who are members of the United Nations, and there are two countries who are non member observer states, and these are the Vatican City and the State of Palestine. Now, what does that mean, non member observer state? It basically means that the Vatican City and Palestine don't have a vote at the UN General Assembly, but they are able to attend meetings at the UN General Assembly. And Mahmoud Abbas has given many speeches here at the UN General Assembly, and it is headquartered in New York. So now the American government has decided that they're not going to allow Mahmoud Abbas to actually attend this meeting of the General Assembly in New York. This is their official statement. Trump administration affirms commitment to not reward terrorism and revokes visas of Palestinian officials ahead of UNGA. In accordance with US law, Marco Rubio is denying and revoking visas from members of the Palestinian Liberation Organization and the Palestinian Authority ahead of the upcoming United Nations General Assembly. The Trump administration has been clear. It is in our national security interests to hold the PLO and PA accountable for not complying with their commitments and for undermining the prospects of peace. Before the PLO and PA can be considered partners for peace, they must consistently repudiate terrorism, including the October 7th massacre, and incitement to terrorism in education, as required by US law and as promised by the PLO. Now, the reason this is dishonest is because Mahmoud Abbas has repeatedly condemned October 7th, has repeatedly condemned Hamas. He's even called Hamas like human dogs or a pack of dogs or something like that. And he's demanded multiple times that Hamas actually surrender in this war and give up their arms and leave Gaza so that his government can take over Gaza. But he's multiple times condemned October 7th. So I don't know why the Trump administration is claiming that the PLO and PA they're refusing to condemn terrorism. They're refusing to condemn October 7th when they have. The statement then says this, which is absolutely insane. The PA must also end its attempts to bypass negotiations through international lawfare campaigns, including appeals to the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice, and efforts to secure the unilateral recognition of a conjectural Palestinian state. Both steps materially contributed to Hamas's refusal to release its hostages and to the breakdown of the Gaza ceasefire talks. I don't even know where to start. So they're firstly condemning Abbas and his government's appeals to the ICC and ICJ. So Abbas and his government, they have supported the International Criminal Court issuing an arrest warrant for Netanyahu because of the war crimes he's committed. And Abbas has also supported the ICJ case against Israel. And so the US government is saying here that Abbas's government is causing problems by supporting the ICC and ICJ. They're condemning Abbas's efforts to secure the unilateral recognition of a conjectural Palestinian state. I mean, it's kind of reasonable for a Palestinian movement to advocate for a Palestinian state, but this government statement is saying that by appealing to the ICC and ICJ and by trying to secure a Palestinian state, you're contributing to Hamas's refusal to release its hostages, and you're contributing to the breakdown of the Gaza ceasefire talks. That's not true at all. All they're asking for is that they have a country of Palestine and that they have all of the land that legally belongs to them, which is the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. That's not contributing to the war or the breakdown of talks or Hamas's refusal to release hostages. What's also kind of crazy is that they're saying the PA must end its attempts to bypass negotiations through international lawfare. What negotiations? America and Israel have not had negotiations with the PA or with Fatah for years. They certainly haven't under this administration. I don't think they did under the Biden administration. I don't think there were any peace talks or negotiations with Fatah and the PLO. The last time they had peace talks and negotiations between Israel, America, and Fatah, the last time was in Trump's first administration, when Trump tried to secure a permanent peace agreement between Israel and Palestine, but then Trump's peace plan was just, hey, what if you let Israel take a whole bunch of land from the West Bank? What if you just let Israel have all of Jerusalem? What if you make the Palestinian state in the West Bank surrounded by Israel? So it was quite a terrible plan, a terrible proposal, and Abbas, the president of Palestine, he just rejected Trump's peace plan because it was a bad plan. And after that, it seems like everyone just gave up on peace talks. But ever since then, I don't think the PLO or the PA or Fatah have been included in any negotiations with America and Israel. During the ongoing war, there have been peace negotiations between Israel and America and Hamas, which is the government in Gaza. It's not the Palestinian Authority. So the official Palestinian government, they haven't been included in any negotiations for several years, but now the Trump administration is saying the PA is attempting to bypass negotiations through international lawfare campaigns. What do you mean bypass negotiations? They haven't been included in any negotiation. They've been basically excluded from everything and completely ignored. And I can't believe the statement actually says these actions have contributed to Hamas refusing to release the hostages and to the breakdown of the Gaza ceasefire talks. How does the Palestinian government supporting the ICC and ICJ, how does that contribute to Hamas not releasing the hostages? That doesn't make sense. How does the Palestinian government advocating for a fully sovereign Palestinian state, how does that contribute to the breakdown of Gaza ceasefire talks? How does that contribute to Hamas not releasing hostages? It has nothing to do with it. These are completely unrelated events. Hamas and Fatah are enemies. They don't like each other. So Fatah has no influence or control over Hamas's actions. Mahmoud Abbas has demanded several times that Hamas step down and get the hell out of Gaza, but Hamas doesn't listen. Hamas doesn't care. So you can't blame the Palestinian government for what Hamas does. The Palestinian government doesn't have control over Hamas. Also, if you want to blame anyone for the breakdown of the ceasefire and the hostages not being released, it was Israel that broke the most recent ceasefire that lasted for about 2 months. It was going fine, and then Israel just decided to end the ceasefire and go back to the war. Hamas did not violate the ceasefire, so you can't blame Hamas for the breakdown of ceasefire talks. You definitely can't blame Fatah for the breakdown of the ceasefire talks. And in terms of refusing to release the hostages, obviously Hamas shouldn't have hostages in the first place, but Hamas has been saying for months, we will release the hostages once there is a ceasefire. The only time hostages have been released during this war, really, has been during ceasefires. But Hamas has been asking for a ceasefire so that hostages can be released, but Israel's been saying, no, we refuse to have a ceasefire, we're going to continue the war. So how can you blame that on Mahmoud Abbas and the Fatah government in the West Bank? They have nothing to do with that. They have nothing to do with the hostages, they have nothing to do with October 7th, they have nothing to do with the breakdown of the ceasefire. They're just blaming the Palestinian Authority for no reason at all. The PA mission to the UN will receive waivers per the UN headquarters agreement. The United States remains open to re-engagement that is consistent with our laws should the PA/PLO meet their obligations and demonstrably take concrete steps to return to a constructive path of compromise and peaceful coexistence with the State of Israel. The thing is, Fatah and the PLO, they advocate for a two-state solution. They advocate for peaceful coexistence with Israel. They're not like Hamas, which says destroy Israel. The PLO has been for decades advocating for a two-state solution where they peacefully coexist. The Palestinian Authority has existed for 30 years, governing the West Bank, and in that time they haven't once gone to war with Israel, they haven't attacked Israel or killed Israeli civilians. Yasser Arafat, the leader of the PLO, made an agreement in the 1990s that he would stop all violence and all terrorism against Israel and Israelis. And in exchange, Israel allowed the Palestinians to form a government to govern the West Bank and Gaza. But the main reason that we don't have peace, the main reason why there's still been a conflict for 30 years, is that Israel hasn't fully withdrawn from the West Bank. Israel still controls 60% of the West Bank, while the Palestinian Authority only controls 40% of the West Bank. And for decades, Palestinians in the West Bank have been subjected to almost daily violence and murder and imprisonment without trial and having their homes bulldozed. They've been subjected to violence and terrorism by the Israeli government and by Israeli settlers for decades, and that's the main reason why the conflict continues. So, but even in all that time, even despite all the violence that Israel and Israeli settlers have been doing against Palestinians in the West Bank, the Fatah government in the West Bank has not committed any violence against Israelis in the last 30 years. They haven't been killing Israeli civilians. They haven't gone to war with Israel. In fact, the Palestinian government in the West Bank actually sort of works with Israel to crack down on Hamas activity in the West Bank. The Palestinian Authority has been very, very patient with Israel for all these decades. I mean, you could argue that they kind of have to be because they would lose in a war with Israel. But they have been cooperating with Israel. They haven't been committing violence against Israel. And unlike Israel, the Palestinian government and Fatah have been advocating for a two-state solution and for peaceful coexistence. So they are much more clearly in favor of peace and compromise and cooperation, whereas the Israeli government continues to kill Palestinians and imprison them without trial in the West Bank and continues to bulldoze their homes and continues to occupy 60% of the West Bank and has not voiced any interest in a two-state solution. So it seems like Israel is the problem here, not the Palestinian Authority. And even though Mahmoud Abbas has been banned from attending the UN General Assembly meeting, Netanyahu is going to be allowed to attend this meeting in New York next month. Even though Netanyahu has committed war crime after war crime, has been massacring tens of thousands of civilians, has been bombing schools and hospitals and intentionally created a famine, but Mahmoud Abbas, who hasn't committed any war crimes, he's not allowed to attend because, he says Palestine should be a country and he supports the ICC arrest warrant and he doesn't condemn Hamas enough, even though he does condemn Hamas the whole time. I feel like the Israel-Palestine conflict would be so much easier to solve if Israel and America actually just worked with the Palestinian Authority and just treated Fatah decently, because probably the main reason why the conflict continues is that Israel refuses to allow the Palestinian government to govern all of Palestine. Israel insists on keeping hold of most of the West Bank and continuing to bulldoze Palestinian homes in the West Bank and just kill Palestinians willy-nilly there. If Israel would just let Fatah govern the whole West Bank and allow the state of Palestine to control all of its own territory, I feel like that would massively de-escalate the conflict. You're not going to have peace if Israel just permanently tries to prevent a fully sovereign Palestinian country from existing. You're not going to get peace that way because Palestinians will always fight back against that. And you're not going to get peace or a solution through Hamas trying to conquer all of Israel and destroy the state of Israel. Rather than Israel just trying to crush any Palestinian state from existing, which will guarantee permanent war, Israel should just withdraw from the West Bank and let the Palestinian Authority govern the West Bank. The best thing you could have is Israel working with the moderate Palestinian Authority and establishing a situation where Israel is not occupying the West Bank, meaning fewer Palestinians will feel a need to fight or resist against Israel, and you also won't have a Hamas state that's trying to attack or destroy Israel. You'll have a moderate Palestinian government under Fatah that wants a two-state solution governing the West Bank. That seems like such a sane solution because, as far as I'm aware, unlike Hamas, Fatah has not shown interest in attacking or killing Israelis. So it's not like if you let Fatah govern all of the West Bank, that'll be dangerous to Israelis. It won't be dangerous to Israelis. They don't want to kill Israelis. So Israel working with the Palestinian Authority and letting them have the West Bank, Israelis will be safe, Israelis will be fine because Fatah doesn't want to kill them like Hamas does. And Palestinians will also be safe and better off because they'll be governed by a Palestinian state and have full control over all of the West Bank, as opposed to being under Israeli occupation. So if Israel withdraws, gives the West Bank to the PA, there's less reason for Palestinians to fight or resist against Israel, meaning less Israelis are going to be attacked or killed. And there's also going to be a moderate Palestinian government in the West Bank that doesn't want to kill Israelis. So Israelis will be safe, probably better off, and Palestinians in the West Bank will be safe and better off because they're not under the constant terror of the Israeli military and they're under their own Palestinian government. It would be so easy. All you have to do is just work with Fatah because Fatah wants to work with Israel. It doesn't want to eradicate Israel like Hamas does. Fatah doesn't like Israel, not at all. I mean, a lot of people who are very critical of Fatah would say that Fatah is just an Israeli puppet or that they're just Israeli collaborators. But they don't like Israel at all. But their goal is not to destroy Israel. Their goal is just stop oppressing us, let us have our West Bank and our Gaza Strip. You just need Israel and the Palestinian Authority working together. Fatah is literally this anti-Hamas Palestinian organization, and Israel still refuses to work with it. It's insane to me. Wouldn't you want to prop up this anti-Hamas Palestinian group who wants to work with you, who wants to have peace with you? The anti-Hamas Palestinians, isn't that what Israel wants? But that's still not good enough. The Netanyahu government and the Trump government, they still refuse to cooperate with this very moderate and very patient Palestinian government. Continuing to be hostile to the PA is achieving absolutely nothing. It's making things worse because Palestinians get the impression that, oh, Israel's clearly not willing to work with our government. They're not willing to give us any of our land back, so we might as well just fight them. From a strategic point of view, from the Israeli perspective, I would think it's a much better idea to just work with these anti-Hamas Palestinian guys who are recognized worldwide as the legitimate government of Palestine. Just work with them and give them like their one major demand, which is leave the West Bank. It's such an easy thing to do. It can solve the majority of the conflict. This is why I don't think that at all that Israel is interested in peace, because the easiest thing to do to achieve peace is just let the Palestinian Authority have the land that they're asking for, that the entire world recognizes is their land, and they're not going to try kill you or destroy you. They want to work with you. Just give them their land, and you'll probably get peace quite easily. But because Israel refuses to do that very simple thing that's not going to harm Israelis, it's just going to help Palestinians, just do that. It's so simple. You can get peace that way. I don't know what more Abbas can do to actually get America and Israel to cooperate with him, because he's been very patient and moderate with Israel to the point where most Palestinians actually hate him because they see him as too soft on Israel. Like, he's really been trying at his own expense to get the Israelis and Americans to be friends with him, and they still refuse to be friends with him. They just continue to insist, no, we're not going to cooperate with you. You're the same as Hamas, basically. And that's why the conflict is just going to continue until the Israeli government or moderate Israelis decides to finally cooperate with these moderate Palestinians. Until you have that cooperation, you're not going to get peace. It's just going to continue.